Hi, hello, this is Jody Sharami at Astro Podcast. Welcome to this week's astrology report for the week of August 8th through the 15th. Hope everyone's doing well. We are in the Leo decan. We are in the middle, the 10 to 20 degrees of Leo, where it's Leo, and this is the day of the Lion's Gate portal, when the sun lines up with the star Sirius and Orion. Some astrologers think that this is kind of a big fake hoax. It's not really astrology, it's more astronomy. But again, as an astrologist, I think that science and astrology are the same thing. Astrology is a science, and it is when you see certain things happening in the universe, especially if you watch Heather Emsworth or Stefan Burns, you can see that the planets are exactly lined up the way the astrology speaks of. And really, it's an ancient art. And, you know, obviously I like astrology. I wouldn't do an astrology report, right? So today, with the perfection of the Lionsgate portal, it lasts basically from the 10th degree of this decan till the 20th degree. It will last until about August 12th, I believe. Oh, but a lot of us are in different time zones, so some people are ahead, some people are behind. But we are always time traveling, either to the future or to the past if we want to. So how's everyone doing? I hope you guys are having a good week. It was a very active week. School starts this Monday for my youngest. We are in the time period in the summer when everyone gets going back to work. There's so much going on that it's a little bit can be a little bit debilitating in terms of what action should we take. Libra's hosting Mars, and Libra is the opposite sign of Aries, who, as we know, is hosting Saturn and Neptune, who are both at 1 degree. So as Mars moved in here the other day, it began the kite, the bottom part of the kite formation we spoke about last week. And the kite formation is a very special deal because it includes the grand Air Trine, which we talked about also last week, because now Libra is hosting Mars. So that is the cardinal air sign, and Pluto is in the fixed air sign of Aquarius, and Uranus is in the mutable air sign Gemini. So Gemini here is very active again, as Jupiter just moved out of here and into Cancer. Now it is hosting Uranus. We are going to have a very busy week as Mars moves into Libra, and it's at 1 degrees. It is going to trine Uranus at 1 degrees in Gemini, and then Pluto at 1 degrees of Aquarius. It becomes the perfection of the grand air trine. So air again is about communications, about travel, about our thoughts and how we form our thoughts. And so Mars coming in here is really supporting the change from Libra. And again, it's very weak here in Libra. It's as far away as it can be at its home sign of Aries. But people forget that Mars also rules over Scorpio with Pluto. They co-rule Scorpio. Mars isn't really that far away from its home. It's also in charge of the second house of Libra, because if Libra is the first house, the second house is Scorpio, and Mars would rule over Libra's second house of money, things that have to do with making money, and fun in terms of luxury, because here your second house is your luxurious house. Mars isn't really super debilitated here as some people might want you to think, because it rules over Aries by itself. It's going to be shifting into Scorpio here in a few weeks, and Scorpio is going to be having a lot of energy from that. And so Mars is in the 12th house of Scorpio, so to Scorpio it is a little weak, because it's in the hidden section of Scorpio's life behind Scorpio. But in terms of Venus being in Cancer, where it's happy there with Jupiter, who's exalted in Cancer, the giving sign of emotions, of giving emotions, which are very important to our lives. With Mars here in Libra, which is ruled by Venus, he's going to have to really consider his strategy. He's going to have to change his strategy, have to work with being diplomatic, having diplomacy. Libra here can help diplomacy tremendously. Diplomacy is really a hard one thing, and Libras in particular are very good at it. And so that's where we're at, and that's why you're at the end of the Kali Yuga, because we are seeing the worst of the worst come out and the best of the best come out, and then there's everyone else stuck in between. All this is happening at around 2:44 p.m. while I am recording this, and then editing this is going to be occurring. So really try to have a good Friday in terms of communication and hanging out with other people, because it's really going to get tricky as time goes on. It's not a horrible day if you're an honest person. And on the 9th, the Aquarius full moon arrives at 16 degrees and 59 seconds. And it's going to conjunct Sirius, the star, and then it's going to have its opposition to the Leo sun. That's what makes a full moon. And so the sun is exalted in its home sign of Leo. And Aquarius moon, the moon is about as far as can be from Cancer, where it is its home. So the moon here is out of its element. You have an Aquarius moon. You're going to be very objective, detached. Of course, you're going to love what you love, which would be computers, robots, airplanes, space, aliens, secrets, hidden secrets, because today a secret could come out with the full Aquarius moon, right? And the sun is highlighting all these things, as I said earlier, with its trine to Uranus also. It's going to exacerbate everything that's happening today with the full moon. It's going to give us a chance to look at something pragmatically and realize that it's either going to work for us or it's not. So today is kind of a day you can emotionally be detached and look at your life in a pragmatic way as a personal endeavor with the moon. But also the moon is ruling over the collective today. So that's why today there could be some information coming out that really shocks us, because again, Uranus rules Aquarius. It's a shock jock. It's like lightning. It is the higher octave Uranus of Mercury. So our thoughts here are going super fast, flying around. And so a lot of times it happens so quickly you can't really know what's going on. In terms of what is happening today, just know that it is a full moon. It is highlighting the difference between Leo, the ego, the person. Here we have to balance that, right? So today and into tomorrow, basically for the next couple of days, we're going to be dealing with balancing our apathy, our detachment from, let's say, Gaza. The Aquarius moon can dissect that apart and say, well, hey, Gaza, is cause and effect. There's nothing we can do. With Neptune and Saturn and Aries and war, we're starting to see that a lot of the delusion of Neptune. But what is wrong today is giving a leader godlike qualities, and also not looking at the Leo part of the integrity. And if you're a ruler, it's kind of your duty to take care of everyone and make sure everyone's happy, not the opposite. So the Aquarius part of it can dissect it, but the Aquarius part can become so emotionless and too practical that you get what we have today in terms of now we are idolizing the Aquarius moon, the age of Aquarius, where we're idolizing robots, AI, computers, to support us, to give us life, to help us sustain life, to give us answers to questions we don't know, to give us truth. But we're not thinking about who programmed these things, right? They're not saying robots can help us. They're saying robots will be replacing us. They're not saying, oh, robots, they can be your maid, they can be your gardener. They're saying robots are going to take over your job, and you're not going to have a job. You're going to have to figure out another way of being. So the Aquarius full moon this weekend, tomorrow into Sunday, is really highlighting these things that are futuristic and into the minds of the powers that be as a way of becoming a totalitarian or a dictatorship type of rulership if they have the help of these people. We wouldn't even know who the tech guys are, except for they do have an ego. It's not like they invented something for the good of the world and they went away and you didn't know who they were. They became billionaires, and now because of that, their hubris is really starting to affect the collective. So the Aquarius moon here, even though it can idolize all these things, it actually represents the people. It's the people who are idolizing AI and all these things. So we now are being shined the light on by the sun in Leo, who is a human ruled by the heart. Especially with Mars in Libra. Mars is a diplomat. It's the lover here in Libra. So it's not going to want war. But the other side of that coin is Aries is going to want war with Saturn there and Neptune, because it can make a fog machine of why when we're supposedly trying to get along, right? So now the space race is on. And so Aquarius moon is really highlighting that, how all of a sudden the administration, the NASA wants to have nuclear power up on the moon. We heard is that Russia wants to do it. And that's how it happened in the 60s, was that it was a race against Russia and China. And so if you're racing each other to take over the moon, then that's not really in the spirit of Aquarius, which is the spirit of brotherhood and community through our shared knowledge, through our shared love of humanity, right? So many things are happening that a lot of people are just fading out. They're taking a back seat to this all. So if that continues, then the destruction of mankind will happen. But unless we all get involved, especially with Mars and Libra, our actions can be diplomacy, and we can actually care for others, which is really lacking in our world, empathy. So that's why with Venus and Jupiter getting ready to meet up, it's really a chance the cosmic world's giving to us to really level up and become a good human being. During this grand air trine, there's also a mystic rectangle, according to Rick Levine, and it is a sextile and trines that support this energy that we just spoke about. And really Mars and Pluto and Mercury, Saturn, Neptune, all these things interacting together really means that our thoughts must also align with our actions. And Rick Levine is right. What you're thinking has to translate to your actions. So Mars is in Libra. So Venus is in Cancer. So really what we're thinking is Mercury's in Leo. And Mercury is now preparing to wake up. And think about Mercury being in Leo and then retrograding back all the way to 4 degrees. And then Mars also was in Cancer, then Leo, then retrograded back. And now Mars has moved forward all the way to Libra. So Mercury rules our mind and Mars rules our actions. So these planets being retrograde in Leo, because Mercury is retrograde in Leo, same as Mars was, and pretty much is covering the same degrees. So we're going to be sitting here for a while and try to get our thoughts to align with our actions. because again, Mars rules Aries and Scorpio. So Mars is now moving forward in Libra. So now we can have control over our actions, since Libra is an air sign, a cardinal air sign. So the actions here are going to be a leadership, a thing to show people how to be. And we all know we need leaders, right? But we need leaders that we trust and that are leading us for us, not for themselves. Or anything you do and you don't do it for money, that's the true love of the job that you're doing. It's something you would do for free. Like, I would do this for free, and I am, except for now I charge people when I'm doing their charts. And I don't charge much. And once you're my client, I usually don't charge you again once we start talking, because it doesn't feel right spiritually to be charging people when it's a spiritual endeavor. And then Pluto and Mars are involved with the higher octave of Libra, of Mars in Libra, okay? And so this is going to change our actions to empower intent. Intention is what you start off, what you mean to do, right? And then does that intention carry through in your actions? Mars and Libra, Libra being an air sign of communication and diplomacy and a cardinal sign. Mars will be able to understand this cardinal area because Aries is a cardinal fire sign. So Mars can handle this cardinal feeling that it's having, but it also is having to fight those tendencies of Aries, which is war. So right now we have a little bit of time where we might not be getting into a war. Mars opposing Saturn is a very intense feeling, and that's what we're getting right now. So this week is considered one of the worst weeks, or last week was, and this week is just going to highlight how bad last week was, because Mars is now literally opposite Saturn. So basically this is an inner turmoil that's occurring, right? Because Mars is opposite Saturn in Aries, which is its home sign. So Mars is actually fighting itself. This is an inner turmoil that's really going to affect Aries people and Scorpio people. I talked about this last week, and I said I'd tell you how I would deal with this. And I look at it as like, as a Libra rising, Mars is in my sign at 1 degree. And a rising sign is how the world sees you. As Mars came into my ascendant this morning, I would tell you that I felt angry. I'm usually pretty peaceful with my children, but today I didn't have much patience. And then that came outward in my personality, and what they saw was me kind of being angry. Within the next minute, I'm happy again and saying, oh my God, did I just yell? I didn't mean to. So this is what's happening with Mars and Libra, is that Mars is very weak here. Pluto is the higher octave of Mars, Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, and Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. So Mars is going to go opposite of Neptune tomorrow, the 9th until the 10th to the 11th. Neptune and Mars will be opposing each other at 6:13 p.m. on the 9th, which is tomorrow. Again, Mars is going to be opposing Neptune, the higher octave of Venus. And Venus is in Cancer. So Venus, again, is the lower octave of Neptune. So Neptune here is about dissolving what no longer serves you. With Mars here in Libra, ruled by Venus, Mars here is gently, diplomatically cutting ties with what they thought was true and what is reality. Libra sometimes can be too much of a people pleaser, which is their downside, because they don't want to fight. Libra doesn't want that. Venus doesn't want that. Venus is about love and light and fun. Mars opposite of Neptune. Neptune here is being ruled by Mars. So how is this going to work if Venus is ruling Libra? Well, Neptune isn't Venus. Neptune is the higher, high-minded Venus. So Mars here will lose just like it lost to Saturn when it opposes it in Aries. Because here Neptune has the power of Mars. The higher octave of these planets are always outmuscle the smaller planets, the personal planets, because the outer planets, starting with Saturn, is about karma, is about our past, is about what's behind us. And they come forward when they do to remind us. And something else, on the 10th, Pisces Moon arrives at 2:50 a.m. Eastern Time. And then Mars is going to trine and perfect itself with Pluto and Uranus and start the kite formation. This is when it all comes together. Mars is in Libra now, but by Sunday it's going to be at the degrees of 1 to 2 of Libra, to where it's now going to be perfecting that kite. And the apex of that kite is Saturn, Neptune, in Aries. So Mars here is going to trine and perfect with Pluto and Uranus. And they're going to form the bottom part of that kite formation, opposite of the apex of the Saturn, Neptune in Aries. We spoke about this last week. So it's going to get intense. It's really going to get intense. And how do you get out of this? Well, it's a trine. So a trine is easy energy. It's not in your face. It's like a pat on the back. It's like a, hey, how are you? How are you? This is what I was thinking we should do. Pluto, Uranus, and Mars, we're all in these air signs together. We should really help or give help to the humans on how to speak nicely to each other. It's not so much the sticks and stones will break my bones, or words won't, because words will break my bones. Because we're in that era, and you can see from being on the internet and seeing mean people put pictures of them up, saying mean things about them. So don't tell me words don't kill people, because they do. It's not caveman era anymore where they couldn't really speak or each other. Now we're very sophisticated with speech. Now words do kill. So Mars in Libra begins this massive transition of how we think need to match our actions, and our thoughts need to match our words, and our words need to match what's true inside of us. Now, not everyone has the capacity to be nice and say nice things to other people, which we know is true. They just can't do it. And that comes in with the maleficent planets of Mars and Saturn being a part of their spread. It could be their rising sign, it could be their moon, it could be their Venus, it could be their Mars, it could be anything. But if you have any malefic planets that are ruling you, which would be Aries, Capricorn, and possibly Scorpio. These are all malefic energies. And when they say malefic, they don't mean evil as much as they're discontented people. When you're discontented, you find other people that are discontented. Like they say, misery loves company, right? And now you can really see it in the real world. Like, you know, who's got Mars and Leo, they can be a little bit narcissistic, right? And who's got Leo rising as a president can be very narcissistic. And as a Gemini sun, his words are always changing, manipulating. So you really can't see it in real time. And that's why I think when you have a baby, you should have a license to have a baby so you can know the baby's astrology, help the baby. Monday, again, is going to be a huge day. Saturn is going to perfect its trine to Uranus in Gemini. So here we have Saturn, the authority, the institutions, the father, the lawmaker, the strict, the person that wants boundaries and puts boundaries on things. That's Saturn's job, right? To help you get through school, get through life's hardships, right? By putting pressure on you and making you do the work and earn the work, right? Now it's going to be going against the rebellious Uranus, right? And so, not going against, but working with Uranus to change the way we think, right? So Saturn here, working with Uranus, is going to try to help our thoughts to come out of its box of traditional things we were taught and what we read in school. Now we know those books were all made leaning towards things that weren't historically true. They are subjective, as it turns out, a lot of these school books. Even math and science are subjective, and now they're changing all the laws. They're trying to take books out. They're trying to make sure your kid stays within this box of, what's the word, religion. I'm not saying that all religion or all the people in religion are bad. I'm saying that there's enough corruption in religions that they've led to cults, and those cults are bad. Saturn here is going to have to loosen up with Mars in Venus. It's a sign of Libra, opposite of it, and Neptune. It's really going to be a war here of our minds, of our values, of things we believe are always true. So this is what we're talking about, the facade, the delusion of what is right and wrong. This is why this Mars and Libra against Saturn, Neptune, and Aries is so important, because we're seeing delusion in real time. We're hearing delusion in real time. We're seeing things happen that are wrong, but somehow are spun as, well, they deserved it. No children deserves that. No mother deserves that. Right? No man deserves that. Religion is an idea that comes from spirituality. If we get together and we pray, we can change the world. Yes. But do we need a religion to do that? And that is where the Pluto in Aquarius is coming in as an air sign. Mars' highest octave as Pluto. Aquarius represents, doesn't rule, represents the masses. So Pluto is here saying to the masses, stop being delusional. It's time to face the facts. It's time to see the dark for what it is and what happens in the dark. And how can we change that dark? By bringing in more light. Now the light side, like right now, Rick Levine is saying, when Venus meets up with Jupiter, which is also today on the 11th, Venus and Jupiter conjunct in Cancer. And so Cancer is ruled by the moon. So again, the full moon in Aquarius is ruling over this conjunction, right? So what does this mean for the collective? Again, Venus is a feel-good, is a lover, it likes things, wants to be happy. That's why Libra risings don't want to cause a fight, don't want to cause a scene in public, don't want to have people screaming at them in public or being rude to them in public. Libra doesn't like that. Now, I'm a Libra rising, so when I'm out in the world and someone's rude to me, it takes me a few seconds and my Libra comes in and says, oh, they must have accidentally bumped into me. But then after you think about it for a minute and my Neptune moon comes in, my Pisces moon, I feel sad. Like, what did I do? See, Pisces immediately blames themselves. And that's the highest octave of Venus. So that's the Pisces moon. Okay, and Neptune's in Aries. And Neptune's like saying, well, you know what, I'm in Aries now and it wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything wrong, right? And then the Leo sun, my Leo sun will come in and I will just feel sadness for the collective. I will feel sad. I don't know. I think it's just my life that I walk around. People feel like they have something to say to me and they'll say it when I don't even really know you. And why do you think I should care, right? And that's because I do give off the Neptune-Venus vibes. I do care. I do want to help you. And when you're rude to me, you're basically asking me for help because I don't know how to get out of my own way, is what you're saying when you're rude to me and poking at me when I don't even know you from a hole in the wall, like the neighbor we just met. It was very upset about my yard. That's what I'm saying. The sun is shining its light on stuff, on the Aquarius full moon. So that's the sun's job, is to say, whoa, what's wrong? Do you need help? You do need help. I'm here for you unconditionally. So understand there's a lot of people out there that are willing to help you. That's why my spiritual children, they come and they want to talk. And this week I talked to one of my spiritual children for 2:30, 5:30, 3 hours. And I've realized with a lot of my spiritual children that have come to me, we have a deep connection. Like, I'm truly their spiritual mother. And I talked to my spiritual child for hours, and it just seemed like we had only talked for maybe 10 or 20 minutes. And that's another sign that your karma and your souls are really here to work things out together, and that you're benefic to them, you're helping them. And so this is the energy that I relate to, is this type of spiritual energy where we look each other in the eyes and we make a connection. And we're always polite to each other because we treat each other how we would want to be treated. Now, we're going to get into the Venus conjunct Jupiter thing, which Rick Levine says on this day, it's going to help smooth out Mars versus Saturn. Okay, and then the Saturn trining Uranus is also going to help this out. Jupiter can be too much, Rick Levine says, too much candy. With Venus and Jupiter meeting up, the only way that could turn into a curse is if your ego thinks you deserve more than what you have. More, right? So if you're in that mindset, this is really going to shock you. It's going to really shock your ego. If you think that you're deserving of more, if you think you've done so much, you deserve this, you deserve that, you have expectations, this is the only way it can hurt you. You got to just be appreciative and full of gratitude, right? Whatever comes your way, you've earned it, But if you're thinking you deserve something, which is different than earning, then you are going to have a hard day. You're going to have a hard week. You're going to have a hard rest of the next 2 years. This configuration, the Air Trine, is here for 5 years. They're going to travel together loosely. And starting in April, all the outer planets are going to remain in their sign, even when they retrograde, like Aquarius, like Pluto's retrograde. It's retrograding only in Aquarius now. It's done its last trip back to Capricorn. We can't go back there and change anything. It's done. So right now we're going to get a chance as they move back to Aries, which is Saturn, Neptune, going back to Pisces, right out of Aries. And then Uranus is going to go back into Taurus also at the end of this year. But not Pluto. Pluto's going to stay in Aquarius, and it's already retrograde. And it's only going to move back to 0 degrees of Aquarius because it takes so long to move. We're going to get another do-over starting September 1st when Saturn goes retrograde. With Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus. We're going to get a chance to redo those areas in Pisces and in Taurus. So we could really use this time to help heal our oceans, to help heal our earth, Taurus, to have new ideas of how to farm to make great food for people instead of letting food rot, millions and billions of food rot that was supposed to go for aid to starving children. This is a crime to let food go bad, spoil. It is a crime to let children starve to death. So there's all kinds of war crimes being committed as Saturn is in Aries with Neptune, as delusion is running rapid, as people are not understanding what's going on because we are at the bottom. We are at the bottom of the descension, and now we're going to start ascending in Aquarius. We're at the bottom in Neptune. Neptune wants to show us all these things. That's Neptune's job, to show you the delusions that you have. And then we're going to start ascending out of this through Aquarius, the higher mind. But the higher mind is being friendly and in cahoots with Neptune and Uranus for long term. For 5 years, they're going to be together moving for 5 years. As Saturn moves on in 3 years into Taurus, behind Uranus and ahead of Neptune. So we have a lot of work to do. The next 5 years are going to be tumultuous, to say the least, as our climate change revs up, as technology starts to take over without any guardrails. Don't get too extravagant with this Venus-Jupiter thing on Monday. It can be too toxic. And like Rick Levine says, too much sweetness on top of too much extravagance. Then the Aries Moon moves in on 8/12 at 6:32 a.m. and it starts to become part of the kite formation as it moves in. Aries Moon's going to conjunct Saturn, then it's going to conjunct Neptune, and then it becomes a part of this kite configuration about change. And now our collective emotions are fired up here. We're like, woo, we got the energy. Let's go, let's go, let's go. I want to start. And don't forget, Aries starts the fire. With this energy, connecting with Saturn and Neptune, Saturn and Neptune is going to get involved here. And Mars is in Libra, is going to affect the moon. So let's move along to the 13th. Venus is going to have a half square to Uranus. And it's going to bring sudden attraction that disrupts the status quo. Venus in Cancer is going to have a little mini square to Uranus in Gemini. Sparks are going to fly. Nothing new with that, right? So just watch out for that, because you do have free will. And then on the 14th, Mercury sextiles Mars at 10 p.m. Eastern, after it has had a flowing dramatic communication full of diplomacy, is what I took out of what Rick Levine was saying. So Mercury again is slowly waking up. It's moved maybe half of a degree in Leo back, still at 4. It's like 4.5 degrees, it's like that. And then Mars in Libra, the lover over here, is going to meet up with Mercury in Leo. And Leo and Libra really get along well. A lot of Leo suns have this configuration where Libra's rising. Tom Brady has it. I'm thinking of Tom Brady just because the Patriots game is today. The preseason game is today. This is a very sweet communication. It's a good day to say sorry to someone. It's a good day to say, hey, you're right, I'm wrong. Then the Taurus Moon will be coming in at 9:21 a.m. So this is going to happen way before Mercury meets up with Mars, but Mercury and Mars already be in that position where you're going to feel it, but it doesn't exact till 10:04 p.m., whereas Taurus Moon is going to come in early, and it's going to square Pluto in Aquarius. Taurus Moon here, squaring Pluto, is bringing in stubbornness, because Taurus is very stubborn and fixed, but so is Aquarius. So both sides are being very stubborn to expand their ideas with Mercury and Mars also during that sextile we just talked about. So the moon here is going to be very stubborn. It's not going to give in to Pluto in Aquarius. But again, the Mercury in Libra sextile can give us this easygoing energy to kind of not cause a world war here, because Pluto again is war stuff when you fight. This collectively could be a big day with Gaza, because Taurus rules over food. and land and territory, and Pluto rules over destruction, war, not just getting rid of something, but decimating it, which is what has happened to Gaza. It's been decimated. So I could see this day being either a turning point for World War III, where, because I hear Israel wants to go occupy Gaza now. And on the 18th, the moon, the Taurus moon, will square the sun in Leo at 1:12 p.m. Eastern time. And so that emotional discomfort that I've been speaking about is going to reach a crisis point in the world, in the collective world. The sun and moon are very personal planets. So personally, we're going to go through all this, like I've been going through this whole podcast. But collectively, there's probably going to be a lot of rebellion that day in some way, either marches to protest things or more war or something. This week is ripe for something to come out, whether it's a secret because of the Aquarius moon opposite the Leo sun, and this secret is going to be collectively shocking. And then with the kite, the grand air trines, this and that and this and that, it's just so stacked. And then the lightning might just come down and be like, and cause it too. There's so much going on with the sun. It's spewing so much plasma at us that the earth itself is very fragile right now. And then collectively our emotions are fragile. So it's not going to take much for the glass ceiling, the glass house that everyone lives in, to come crumbling down. And then you see the delusions of what you thought was true isn't true, blah, 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 blah. And it's very shocking. It happened to me when Pluto was in Capricorn. Very shocking when I saw what was going on, and what I believed to be true was true, which is really disheartening. It's despairing. But the Leo sun always rises again. This has been a very long podcast. Now we're on to Friday the 15th. Basically on the 15th, the moon squaring the sun is going to be a big deal, as I was saying, because something's going to come out. And then on Saturday, there's going to be some serious energies again on the 16th, that Saturday. And when I come back, we will talk about that seismic explosion that could happen spiritually and collectively out in the world. So this is such a rare thing that it really behooves you to pay attention to the details of your life and how you're feeling and thinking and what it is you're envisioning, and really start to put it together. And if you can get it all together, and then by February and April next year, you can start showing your project and start shopping it around. And then you have that whole Jupiter in Venus. They're going to meet up again. Like they're meeting up now. According to S.J. Anderson, it's going to meet up again in June 30th of next year, before it moves into Leo season. So think about that for a second. We get Venus meeting up with Jupiter twice in the mother sign of Cancer, which is represented by the number 4. Give me a like, subscribe, comment. I would appreciate that. I will be back next week on the 15th, and we will dive deep again into the last week of Leo. And so really use these last 2 weeks of Leo to stand in your sovereignty, change who you want to be to who you are. If you have a mask on, a facade, this is the time to ditch that and become your true self, especially as all the social media has gotten out of control. Don't worry about any of that stuff, because all that stuff is just a facade of people being themselves, trying to be themselves. And a lot of people are just trying to find themselves on social media. And, that's understandable. But again, social media can do some real harm to you. A lot of people aren't true on social media. It's a facade, and you may only see the good part of their lives, never the bad part. So you don't really know who they truly are because you only see the good part of their lives, right? So think about that. Okay, I appreciate you being here. I'm sorry this is a little bit long. I'll try to shorten and edit out a little bit. I will talk to you next week. Bless you, bless you, bless you. And thank you to my spiritual children, especially when it's talked to this week. I hope you're doing better, and I'm sure you are. You're strong. You're strong, strong, strong. And to my friend who's almost done healing in Utah. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I knew it wouldn't take you long. You're in the best shape I've ever known anyone. Thank you. Appreciate you. Mwah.